Hello and welcome back to this week's edition of The Blame Game. With Worlds starting in just a couple of days, I thought it was the perfect time to sit down and talk about NA's performance at Worlds. What's that? We haven't played yet? I'm talking about historical performance and setting expectations for fans and what I think we should be looking forward to as a potential success or failure. We are North America, for better or worse. That means that we are still counted among the major regions and by a lot of people measured by the same stick. I don't necessarily think that's unfair to have the same measuring system, but at the same time, it's worth acknowledging that, yeah, we are the weakest of the top 4 major regions. The major region line itself is a little blurry. I know PCS, VCS obviously deserve to be in that conversation as well. Historically, we almost always outperform them, and we underperform Europe, LPL, and LCK. We're in this kind of middle tier, it feels like, just under the big boys, but above almost everyone else in the world. So we're gonna take a look back at the last 8 years of competition at Worlds. It was 2014 when the 4-group system that led into an 8-team bracket was really debuted and became the staple that we've seen more or less since then. Play-ins was added, it was international wildcard, people have been moving around since then. So it's not like it was uniform, the exact same situation every single year, but I wanna take a look at, how we do. In play-ins, for the 5 years that it's happened, we are 5-0 in results, meaning that we get out 5 times. And we have a 23-7 record during that time. The closest we ever got to not getting out, you could argue, was the Clutch Gaming situation, or maybe the Cloud9 one when they lost the tiebreaker to DFM. But either way, we ended up pulling through those just fine. This year is a little different, and we'll start talking about the specifics of this year in a minute, but let's finish off with this historical look first. Groups for North America is sadly a different story. Every year we have sent 3 teams to groups, and in the 8-year history, 6 of them have gotten out. 18 have missed. That means that we're just under a single team a year getting out. There were 3 years where no one got out. There was just the 2014 year where 2 teams got out, so that's why it's 6. Despite that fact, some of the teams have been closer than you might think. NA has always lost tiebreakers, it feels like, to EU. There are a number of 3-3 teams that were not able to get out, so our win rate is 61-83. You'll notice that's much closer to 50% than the actual number of teams that get out of the groups. But hey, I mean, Worlds is a tough tournament, and at the end of the day, you gotta win when it counts. Those 6 teams that made it into groups, only one of them has ever won a quarterfinal matchup. Head tap to 2018. Cloud9 taking down a Freak of Freaks 3-0. When you look at the game score of those 6 best of 5s, there's a lot of 1-3s and 0-3s in there when we do make it out of group. So, it's a tough go of it when we actually do make it out. And then once that Cloud9 team reached semis, they got bodied in the semifinals against Fnatic 0-3. So looking historically for North America, you can expect the teams to do pretty well, whoever's in play-ins, and make it out, get into groups where the teams will struggle, get some wins, take a lot of losses. Some teams do go 0-6. Both Clutch and TSM unfortunately have that honor, but usually on average, one team will sneak through, just under one team will get out, and then they'll usually get bodied in quarterfinals. Now, I say all this not to paint a dour picture for North America, though I understand that's how it comes across, but to try and be realistic, as Joe Abercrombie would say, about our expectations for this situation here. We are painted as a team, a region that people expect more out of every single year. We have a lot of money, we invest a lot, we try hard, we talk about how we want to do really well, and then inevitably almost 2 out of the 3 teams don't make it out and don't look that great. But I just think fans should know that that's kind of how we are. We are the underdogs. Historically, whether we should be doing better or not, we don't. And just coming in with the understanding that if we have a good showing in groups, that's actually not bad for us. I know, again, it's okay to want more, but just knowing our history, I think, will help a little bit for setting expectations as we look into this year. What's different this year is play-ins are fucking brutal. They have consolidated the groups down to just 2 groups, as well as the fact that there are now 5 of the top 4 teams in a situation where only 4 can get out. There's 2 from Europe, 1 from LCK, 1 from LPL, and 1 from NA. Now, Group B ended up a lot more stacked in people's minds than Group A, both because of the VCS team in Saigon Buffalo, as well as both LPL, LCK were in there, and the European 4 seed. On paper, with NA being in Group A, that should be exciting because we dodged the difficult group. But the other problem is then that if we get the 2nd seed, Fnatic gets the 1st seed, then if there's any weird shenanigans going on, we could easily get DRX or maybe RNG in our group if it's a situation where, let's say RNG gets 1st, and then DRX should get 2nd, but they fumble around and muck it up, and suddenly Fnatic or Saigon gets 2nd. That puts them 3rd. They might win their best of 5, and if NA and EG is waiting on the 2 side, in the 2 seed on the other side of the bracket will then have to beat that major region team to get out. Even best case scenario there, you're probably looking at playing Mad Lions as maybe the weakest situation that you would hope for, or maybe Saigon Buffalo there. I know Mad Lions haven't won a best of 5 yet this year, and it's a bit of a meme for a lot of people that they went and lost 2 best of 5s and still qualified for Worlds, but it's still worth putting a little bit of respect on their name that they are some very good players on that team. I think EG, given the year that they've had, are not a team to be slept on though, because they won in spring, they were crushing in summer. Danny had his kind of collapse where he gave out towards the end of the season, and Kaori came in, and with a week of practice, they pushed 100 Thieves, our number 2 seed, to 5 games, and maybe could have won that series. And you have to expect that they've just gotten a little bit better with time. Jojo is playing extremely well right now. Everyone's watching in Champions Queue, where he absolutely dumpstered Nisqy in the first game that Nisqy played in Champions Queue. So I really do hope they get to see each other in bracket stage just to get the follow-up on that one. But either way, I do think that EG shouldn't be slept on just because of the change from Danny to Kaori, and with the extra time that they are basically as strong as almost any team that we've ever put into play-ins. The other positive situation, if you're a North American fan, if you're an EU fan, it feels fucking terrible because it feels like this happens every single year to Fnatic, but they have had their own sub situation going on with both Hylissang and Upset getting COVID and not being able to come over and join them. They had to pick up Rux to come in and actually play for their support position. They have Bean already as their sub, so they've had this emergency situation where they are last minute scrambling to get scrims going on. This means that there's a realistic chance in this group that EG could get first if they play well in these best of ones, and I think it's imperative that they do, because you really do not want to be sitting in that 2nd seed and hoping nothing gets fucking weird in Group B and you end up playing DRX for your life to just get into group stage. At the end of the day, I'm happy to still be in Group A as a North American fan for EG, because while you might be worried about who you face in the bracket stage, at least you have a chance, I think, of getting the 1st seed in this group, whereas if you were against RNG, realistically, you would have a very tough time taking that away from them. I don't want to look too far ahead for North American fans into group stage, because that's going to have another week and a half before we get to that part. There'll be plenty of time to analyze how we're looking and things like that, but I will give a quick sampler here and just saying that it's going to be tough. All the groups are extremely stacked this year, assuming that things go to chalk and 4 more major region teams join the group stage here. Every single group is going to be extremely difficult to get out of. That's not to say it's doomed though, because Cloud9 has gotten out of these doom situations before, both in 2017, 2018, and 2021. 2017, they were in that T1 EDG group. EDG looked incredible. They stomped a lot of early games, but they threw a lot of games with 10K gold leads, and somehow C9 ends up getting out of that group. 2018, I, along with many others, thought they were doomed, getting in a group with RNG. I think it was Genji as well. And they were able to actually squeak out of that group. A lot of these do have to do with some underperformance by Eastern teams, but that is not something that's actually that rare. And when you just move forward to 2021, FPX choking in their group as well, and they were able to squeak out there with the 2-4 record. Though the East is undoubtedly better than the West, when you see people's power rankings, you see that they'll usually put almost every single one of the Eastern teams before putting in a Western team. Maybe G2 will sneak in there, or Fnatic if they're super good that year or something. But realistically, if you were a betting man, one of those teams is going to collapse. Which one is it going to be? No one really knows, but it's unlikely that you actually get an all Eastern teams getting out of their groups and making it through. That hasn't happened yet at Worlds. Who knows? It might happen this time, but we'll have to see. RNG does look like the scariest 4 seed that they've ever sent from LPL, so it's going to be a very difficult group stage for North America, but I still think you should be hoping and expecting at least one of our teams to get out through a combination of skill and circumstance. Anyways, that's gonna do it for this week's episode of the Blame Game. I'll be casting the first day of play-ins where EG and Fnatic throw down in game 2 with my boy Captain Flower, so I'm very excited to get there. I wish I could just wake up and it would be tomorrow, but it's not. But this will be coming out Wednesday, so I would be waking up and it would be the...
Hey everyone, thank you so much for watching that video. This is my press conference here. Does the lens show the full table? Do they know? Okay, good. I look like I'm at a press conference. I ad-libbed that part, and then I was worried that it wouldn't make sense if the crop was... Anyway, so I'm here at Chicago Finals. I want to shout out Alienware for helping to get me here. For years and years and years, I've been traveling to events now, and it's all because of their support. Really appreciate them as a sponsor. Please check out the link in the description. If you purchase something through there, it actually goes directly to helping support the channel. A portion of it does. And yeah, thank you so much to Alienware. I'm going to avoid deep dish pizza for the rest of this trip.